It's Thursday, the 14th of July, Bastille Day here in France. Good morning, Europe. A very warm welcome to the programme. Let's start by looking at our top story.
Ukraine and Russia inch towards a deal to resume grain exports from Kyiv's blocked Black Sea ports, raising hopes that global food supplies will rise. Joe Biden kicks off his first Middle East tour as US president in Israel, trying to reassure his ally by taking a tough line on Iran and its nuclear program. And 8 become 6 in the race to replace Boris Johnson as head of the UK Conservative Party and Prime Minister, with another round of voting this evening.
Few images, fewer details, but some optimism, at least for the United Nations, after a meeting held between Russia, Ukraine and Turkey to try and unblock the exports of Ukrainian grain trapped in the ports by the war. After the meeting, the UN Secretary-General did not hide his hope.
Today in Istanbul, we have seen a critical step forward to ensuring the safe and secure export of Ukrainian food products through the Black Sea. In a world darkened by global crisis, today at last we have a ray of hope.
Negotiations, also with the UN as an observer, will continue next week.
More technical work will now be needed to materialize today's progress, but the momentum is clear. In the end, the aim of all parties is not just an agreement between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, but an agreement for the world.
The war in Ukraine has fueled the global food crisis that followed 2 years of a global pandemic, as Ukraine is one of the world's leading grain exporters. No details have been given about what was discussed. Until now, Moscow demanded to inspect ships to verify that they were not carrying weapons to Ukraine. Kyiv demanded guarantees against a Russian attack if Ukraine removes the mines that protects its ports.
Joe Biden has arrived in Israel at the start of his first trip to the Middle East as president, with words of reassurance to his hosts of his determination to stop Iran's growing nuclear program. In an interview recorded before he left Washington, he expressed a keenness to return to the 2015 Iranian nuclear deal.
The only thing worse than the Iran that exists now is Iran with nuclear weapons. And if we can return to the deal and hold them tight, I think it was a gigantic mistake for the last president to get out of the deal. They're closer to a nuclear weapon now than they were before. We can act against them and still have a deal where they curtail their nuclear program.
The Iran nuclear deal was abandoned by Biden's predecessor Donald Trump 4 years ago. The accord involving the US, China, France, Germany, Russia, the UK and the EU involved the lifting of sanctions on Iran in exchange for strict limits on and monitoring of its nuclear activities. But Trump's move has led to the deal's unravelling and talks remain at an impasse. Israel has always been a staunch opponent of the agreement and considers Iran its biggest threat. It wants Tehran's nuclear program completely stopped, and Washington's efforts to breathe new life into the deal are not welcome. Iran says its nuclear activities have always been entirely peaceful, but Western powers and the global nuclear watchdog say they are not convinced.
Former UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and former Defence Minister Penny Mordaunt emerge as clear favourites to replace Boris Johnson at the head of the Tory party and therefore as Prime Minister. Sunak won 88 votes and Mordaunt took second place with 67. The first vote has also served to discard Nadhim Zahawi and Jeremy Hunt, who failed to reach the threshold of 30 votes by Conservative lawmakers needed to stay in the contest. They were knocked out of the race with 25 and 18 votes respectively.
32, Hunt 18.
The remaining 6 candidates will be able to take part in the next ballot on Thursday. The process to choose a new party leader should last till September.
Considerably less lethal than many other members.
Leader of the opposition Keir Starmer, who is better rated in the polls than all of Johnson's possible successors, tried without success to table a motion of no confidence in the government. For the time being, Johnson does not officially endorse any of the contenders to succeed him.
Well, last night, the 8 Conservative MPs battling it out to be the next leader of the party and thus Prime Minister of the United Kingdom were whittled down to 6 at the first stage vote. Now, those who were knocked out were the current Chancellor, Nadhim Zahawi, and the former Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. Of the 6 remaining, it looks like Rishi Sunak has the most support from the parliamentary party. He got a whopping 88 backers. The next closest was Penny Mordaunt with 67, then Liz Truss with 50. Kemi Badenoch got 40, Tom Tugendhat 37, and Suella Braverman just 32. What will happen next is over the next few days there will be TV debates on Friday night, Sunday night and Monday night. There will then be a next stage of voting where they will vote several times, eliminating the bottom contender each time. They'll then siphon off those votes into the other contender, and the final 2 will be announced next Thursday. They will then run for about 5 or 6 weeks, going up and down the country, trying to lobby the 180,000 Conservative Party members that they should be the ones who get their postal vote before, on the 5th of September, the new Prime Minister is announced. Boris Johnson has confirmed he will step down then on the 6th of September, and they then have 1 month to appoint a government and prepare for the Conservative Party conference in the first week of October. But people will be watching to see who the 2 who were knocked out back. Jeremy Hunt has come out and said he backs Rishi Sunak. No word yet, though, from Nadhim Zahawi. But the other critical issue for these contenders now is to try and appeal to that base of just not the whole country of 65 million people, but 180,000 who are pretty much on the right of the party. They tend to be older and male. So I think we'll be hearing lots about the culture wars. At the moment, the only big distinguishing feature in the pack is on tax. So Rishi Sunak has been the Chancellor through the pandemic, says it's fantasy economics to say that you can cut taxes quickly. The priority is to bring down inflation, then cut taxes. The rest of the pack, though, that are running pretty much say that they will bring in quite sweeping tax cuts as soon as possible, both corporate tax cuts and personal tax cuts. They think that is the key to toppling inflation. Vincent McAviney, Euronews, London.
A mass grave containing human ashes equivalent to 8,000 people has been discovered near a former Nazi concentration camp in Poland. Nazi Germany built the camp when it occupied Poland during World War II. Estimates have put the number of prisoners killed at Soldu at 30,000, but the true poll has never been established. A 200-kilometre fence built on the Slovenia-Croatia border back in 2015 is being removed. It was put up to deter migrants during Europe's refugee crisis, but now the former Slovenia Prime Minister who authorised the barrier says he's happy it's coming down. Dismantling the razor wire fence between the two nations could take weeks.
The war in Ukraine has brought death and destruction and turned millions of lives upside down. Oleg Sentsov is an internationally known film director. He's previously been detained by Russia and now he's fighting for Ukraine.
I have some rest in Russian prison. After that I returned to cinema. And now I'm at army. I don't know what I will do at 10 years after that, because I have changed my life many times.
Just last year, Sentsov was presenting his socially gritty gangster film Rhino at the prestigious Venice Film Festival. He's a director who's always been politically aware.
Russia wants to take back the old colony of Ukraine, but Ukraine is not colony. Ukraine is an independent country and have a very brave nation who will fight against any aggressions.
Sentsov has moved his family to safety. Ukraine will prevail, he says, because it's fighting for its own existence.